Afternoon, good evening, everyone. Welcome to The Essence in You. I am your host, Sheila, and today we have my new BFF, I'm telling you, Lara. We have
That's Lara.
Laura
I was going to say,
Wells.
it sounds like
Lara
you'd forgotten
Wells.
my name there. Yes, Lara. Lara.
Lara.
It's
Lara.
just remember Lara Croft. It's Lara. Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
I tried
Dr.
to remember that.
Zhivago, Lara's theme.
Yeah.
In fact, Dr. Zhivago was on TV over here yesterday. I thought, my God, that's a blast from about 30 years ago.
I was getting ready to say, I thought, really? Wow.
Yeah.
He's like, yeah, that's
He's gone. I know.
Yes.
But it's like your original love story, isn't it?
Yeah.
Dr.
Yep,
Zhivago,
Dr.
Lara. Yeah, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, so it was just the difference between Laura and Lara, but it's easier. Lara, I noticed when I was in America working a lot, and they do, depending where they are, it can be a struggle to say it because of the really, it's a hard isn't it? Lara, and A or O or yeah.
Yep. Well, could you please tell my audience about your lovely self?
Yeah. Well, it's not much really. I know. Yeah. I'm like, where do we start? I'm Lara Wells, and yeah, I'm Lara Wells, and I'm a professional intuitive, award-winning medium. I talk to dead people. I'm really good at like helping people go through recovery as well. Like often you get when people approach me like to learn, about intuition, or they want to read cards, or they want to connect with spirit, or, they want to do healing. It's a bit like, I always say, if the medium's at the top of the tree, and then you get the healers and psychics. Mm-hmm. Not all healers are mediums or psychics. Not all psychics are mediums or healers. Mm-hmm. But all mediums are psychic and healers, right? Okay. So I think I've always gone along the thing that if you do mediumship training, right, then in that you can do the other two. Okay. Because it teaches you about energy, vibration, connecting. There's quite a bit of science involved as well. It's not just all woo-woo, or as people would call it woo-woo, or quantum physics, if you want to call it, because, I have spoken with quantum physicists and scientists before who actually talk about the very same thing. We just use different terminology for it. Mm-hmm. Right? Well, it's, so fundamentally, I suppose I'm a healer, I'm a medium. I didn't always know I was a medium. Apparently other people knew I was a medium before I did. But you see, if you're born like, I'm a natural born one, right? It's a bit like, you don't think about whether you're right or left-handed, you just write, don't you? So it was kind of like that with me. I was probably, well, I've got red hair, so I was always a bit, stood out like a sore thumb, I suppose, or was expected to be different. And I was lucky because my mum encouraged me to celebrate differences, to be different. As I say, we're probably the minority race, by the way, right? And when I say that, tongue in cheek, hand in heart, I was brought up to think I was white. In actual fact, I'm see-through, right? And so there's another, I'm like the opposite of you, by the way, right? Yeah, I've got no melatonin whatsoever, right? Or, yeah. And, I mean, I don't go brown, I go red. Even when I'm exercising and stuff, I go red and sweat very, very quickly, right? And everybody, they look at me and go, you okay? Yeah, I'm okay. I'm okay. And God help anybody that calls round to my door and I've forgotten to put makeup on. Right. Go, oh my God, are you all right? And I go, yeah, why? God, you look like death warmed up. Oh shit, I'm not having makeup on. So we do all that. This is starting to play up. We do all that. So I've got to say that you're kind of in, we're different anyway. So, I got used to that.
Oh, we all have. Uh-oh. Come back to me, Laura. Yes, I am.
I know. So fundamentally, kind of, it all happened by chance. I was always had that understanding of, there's more than just us. I could feel people. Sorry, that's the dog's just come down. I could feel people round about. I could see people round about. they're just going to start scrapping, aren't they? Now, why not you come? And I just thought everybody could. So when it became obvious, you know, to me, because they were like, well, no, not everybody's like that. We're not like that. You know, I just thought, well, there's either something wrong with me or there's something very right with me, right? And I'll just carry on and see where it goes. Luckily, again, because, you know, I wasn't afraid of being different. And that had a lot to do with it. And so, yeah, as time went on, kind of, I landed in the professional side. I mean, I was your child in my teenage, when other teenagers were trying to get into nightclubs and, you know, underage drinking and that, I was doing seances and crypts, right, in air raid shelters, right. And in scout huts and stuff. And I ended up organising them as an accident, because the guy who did the first one, right, he didn't turn up to the next one. So for some reason, they all wanted me to head it, and I didn't have a bloody clue what I was doing. So I'm like, well, you know what? What's the worst? They don't know I've not done it before. Okay. So in that, when you switch it around the other way, because a lot of it can be, oh, what are they going to think of me? How are they going to perceive me after this? What if I'm not right? And moving to that place where, and it's sorry to say this, you've got to get to a place where you don't care whether you're right or wrong, right? Because it's nothing to do with you, as in the person. That's like when I'm giving a message, right? I'm working for spirit in that moment, right? So because I've done all this, or maybe I've misheard it and this, that, and sometimes, listen, if I have misheard it, I usually I'll put my hand up and I'll go, I think I misheard that word actually, but this is the closest that kind of I can get to it. So, you know, that kind of thing. And just being, listen, if somebody were to ask me, I'm more than likely to be on their side, because actually they're more truthful, right? They're not scary. You know, the thing about having hauntings and stuff like that, a lot of the time it's residual energy, or they just need somebody to communicate with them, because they're a bit frustrated, nobody's listening to them or taking any notice, you know, that sort of thing. And let's just say you don't get a job with as much enjoyment, because every day is totally different. But I do love making the difference to somebody, to be honoured enough to be part, even if it's just a small part, you know, in their life, in their transformation, in their healing journey, in that connection with, you know, their loved ones that have passed. It gives me the same feeling as when you first watch a baby walking, taking the first steps. That's what it's like.
Fulfilling. That's very fulfilling.
Yeah. Somebody once, well, I get asked this a lot, Lara, how do I heal, particularly going through an extreme trauma? And I'll say, you heal by healing others. Right. So when you're learning, you know, being a healer or a medium, you know, or both, as spiritual worker or whatever, most of your growth comes from when you're helping others to grow, or being a facilitator of that. That's also the best experience you could get too. And also the right mentor. And say mentor, because you get coaches and then there's mentors. Mentors are people who have walked the talk, right? Who have, they're not just teaching it because they got up one day and thought, oh, I'm going to coach, and this is a subject I'm going to do, right? My work has been 35 years in the making, right? And in that, there's a lot of people. Listen, when I die, post-mortem me, they'll open my head up and just close it back up again, love. Don't even bother letting them skeletons out the closet. And you know, on Earth sign, with Taurus with Leo rising, you know, so one day I want to be at home and with the snuggly pajamas, you know, that sort of thing, and not get out of them. Even my mother, who lives with me, got to point out she lives with me, not the other way around, but she lives with me, and she'll go, are you still in your pajamas? And I'm like, and you know, that's okay. I've even done lives in my PJs before, and I'm like, and other times I want to go out and, you know, jet set around the world. That'll be the rising Leo in me. Learning from people, learning there are rules, you know, in the spiritual world, like the 10 commandments. You know, you've also got spiritual commandments as well, like you don't read for somebody without first getting permission from them. You can't just walk up and read for somebody like that. That can damage them, right? There's a sense of responsibility. You know, I'm not just a medium, I'm also a trained counsellor, grief counsellor, NLP, practitioner. I'm a life coach, spiritual coach, minister, right? And so, and that's just a few that I'm reeling off my head, you know. I don't even really keep track of it, but it's not so much that I want to put these things up on the walls that people see and qualified. It's more because of taking responsibility when, you know, you're in somebody's energy, whether you're healing, whether you're sorry about that, whether
that's okay.
whether you're helping them, which if you're you know, doing the spiritual thing and giving them, you know, messages from their loved ones and stuff like that, that you protect them at all times, right? So it's they get the most from it, they get the best experience from it, right?
Now,
and you can't.
I'm sorry.
It's all right.
That's the first time that I have ever heard about the commandments, the 10 commandments, when someone's, you know, in mediumship. And that's actually a very excellent process, you know, a good thing to know.
Yeah, well, a necessary part of training for a medium, right, is the spiritual church. Sorry about the dog in the background there. The spiritual church, right?
I have a doggy. I'm surprised she hasn't barked yet. So
Oh.
as soon as somebody walks past the window.
Oh,
so
well,
don't worry.
that'd be the next thing. Yeah, is working as a medium. We call it a working medium, right? So you do your working medium part. You don't get paid for it or anything like that, but you're in service, right? And there's two different types of service, if you want to call it. You've got your SNU, the Spiritualist National Union, like where they're highly governed, you know, by a governing body and all the rest of it. And you get what's called divine services. Divine services mean that there's hymns, a philosophy, right, where, you know, from spirit. So it's a bit like when the minister in a pulpit would preach, you know, or take an extract out of the Bible, that sort of thing, and, you know, try and relate it. My philosophies are usually try and relate it, relatable stuff that's also uplifting with a message in it, you know. And yeah, as a working medium where, oh my God, I have travelled thousands and thousands of miles, get a contribution towards your petrol, but I would have childminders because I had 5 kids, you know, and, you know, I would work to support that, you know, with paid readings that would help me pay for my childminders and, you know, travel and my time. And, you know, it could be 2 hours there and 2 hours back driving, right? And that's not including your 2.5 hour service, you know, where you're giving messages. So you see the whole thing of a working medium in service, you know, and there'll be healers there too. And then you get your just a straightforward service. Your straightforward service, it's not divine, where you'll still do a couple of songs and stuff, but you tend not to go into the philosophy and the divine worship side, you know, so much. Might not be healers there, for example, but yeah, people would show up, you know, to get together and sing and lift a vibration. And I was usually one of the youngest there, though, I've got to say. I was like, sometimes I think people get to a place where they get older or they start suffering health things, and only then do they start to go, I better look in to see where I'm going, actually, you know, when I do pass. And, you know, and they get a bit kind of itchy feet or unsettled about where they're going. Does that make sense? And there's that. And also sometimes because maybe a lot of their friends have passed, family members, that sort of thing, you know, to feel connected with other people, that might be the only time they see anybody that week. So yeah, they're pretty important. And believe it or not, in the spiritual industry, as a working medium, there are commandments, yes. Spiritual laws that are a kind of the basis of a guide for carrying out and practicing being a medium or a spiritualist. Yeah, I like spiritualist because I think that one thing about being a spiritualist or a spiritual person is that you should be able to go into any church, right, and feel a sense of connection, you know, there. Whereas you'll get Catholics that'll go to a Catholic church. You'll get Christians that go to a Christian church. You'll get Methodists that go to a Methodist church. You rarely see any crossover there unless they're going to a wedding in that church, or if you know what I mean. That whereas as a spiritualist or a spiritual worker person, I've sat in every church going.
Yep.
I've been picketed and banned from going places. I've been blocked. I've been nasty letters through my door. I've had horrible phone calls. I've honestly, I've had ministers pass by my door when my child was dying, just to go to the rich person next door. So if that's organized religion, that's not very spiritual, is it?
No, it's not.
So yeah, I think being a spiritualist or a spiritual person is the way to go, because your connection, the way I see it, connection with God is personal.
Yes.
Churches are houses to sit in so that you can be quiet and have that connection, that clearer connection without interference, right? But I don't think it's a reason to be the way that a lot of these religions are, you know, where they start getting domineering, and, you know, you've got to pay them X amount of money every month, even though they maybe can't afford to even buy themselves a pair of shoes.
Yeah. And you do have some people that actually do that.
I know.
People that are on fixed incomes and, you
Yeah.
know, giving everything. Yeah. Yeah.
Well,
And
usually in the spiritual church, you come in, you just make a donation. Yeah, it could be 20 pence or 20 cents, if that's all they had. They wouldn't get turned away. They would still get tea and coffee and cakes and sandwiches, and they would still get, you know, fed and a worship and maybe a message from a loved one and some healing. And yeah, there you go.
I bet you that to experience that, since I'm on this side of the water, to
Yeah.
experience something like that, I bet you it's very awe, like in awe, like, man, this is beautiful. This is, this is a beautiful
Yeah.
thing. It's genuine. And if you feel that it's coming from the heart, then you can't deny that.
Thank you.
You
Yeah.
see it, you feel it, you know it.
Yes, there is a moment, and there's a moment, right? I call it the golden nugget moment, because really it's like, you know, if somebody's been, you know, picking away and, you know, like digging away and all the rest of it to get to their bit of gold in the cave or whatever, you know, and they get that when they see it, right? It's that, it's not the golden nugget, it's the feeling you get from it. There's a moment where there's a connection made, right? But a three-way connection between you, the person, and, you know, loved one, and, you know, a proper medium. I'm what's called a direct medium, which means I know where I'm going. I know who I'm going to. I'm not indirect. But 99% of mediums are, I've got a Margaret here. Can anybody take a Margaret? I've got, you know, a John here. Can anybody take a John? And it's a process of elimination. You can see why, you know, skeptics pick holes in that.
Yeah.
With a direct medium, we go to, I'm coming to the lady third from the second row, third from the right, with the pink top on. Your dad's here, and he's saying such and such a thing, and this is how he passed, and, you know, this is what he said to you before he passed, that sort of thing, you know. And that's kind of, and in that moment, right, there's a shift and there's an energy in it, and that's the golden nugget moment that I see, where you go, you know, and when they like that, they let the light
You
in.
hit something.
Well,
Yep.
no, yeah, they let the light in. God is in that.
Oh man, that's beautiful. Very
Thank
well
you.
put, young
Thank
lady.
you.
Very well put. Yes, that
Yeah.
is beautiful. The
Jesus was the
difference between
greatest healer and medium that ever walked the earth. He said, go and do as I have done. They will be more like me. Don't persecute them like you persecuted me. I'm not saying I'm any Jesus, by the way. What I'm saying is, he's saying that as human beings, we have the ability to do this. We're created in God's image, right? So yeah, I think it's just life that's conditioned it out of us.
Yeah.
And generations. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
Oh, no, because you're dropping all these nuggets and my brain is going boom,
No.
boom, boom, boom.
There's nuggets, I know.
Yes. Um, that's the essence, though. That's the essence that God put within us. And people go out looking for it when they should really look
It's
within.
inside, absolutely.
And if you go within, you can never go wrong, but you have to know, to include myself, what to listen to and what they're telling you. You know, what your gut's telling you, or your thought is telling you. You know, not your mind, the thought that just came out of nowhere.
Before
Instant.
your logic intercepts. You've got
Yes.
3 seconds, by the way, before that happens. So when they say your first instinct, but by the time you go, or is that right? Even that question itself, it then starts to cover it up, doesn't it? You spend your entire time trying to get back to that initial thing that popped into you. And and your podcast is called Essence in You.
Yes.
There you go. So the essence in you, the God particle. There was a book written about that, wasn't there? The light, that shift, that DNA strand, if you call it, that allows that light in. And initially when we started, you were asking me tell me about yourself and your journey. And I was saying that I tend to get approached by two types of people. One who have their families grown up, they're in their 40s, 50s, and they then start to question things. Right, and they've been a bit bored. They have spent their life being maybe a wife and a mother, or a husband, or a father, or a son, or whatever. And they start to look into the spiritual side, if you want to call it, and whether I will do this as a wee bit of a hobby, or actually I really like that. Maybe I'll go and train to be a healer, like do Reiki and all the rest of it. Then you get another type of person who's in breakdown for breakthrough, right? They're in that, they've had extreme stress. The electrical signals have gone off all over the place. The central nervous system has been seriously breached. And of course, as those light up neural pathways intermittently, you suddenly get glimpses in your mind of stuff that you never even thought possible. Oh, but then it's gone away. And then it happens again. It lights up. Your brain can form other neural pathways at an extraordinary rate. So I help wire them to their intuition, which is way bigger than their logic anyway. And basically put them on bypass, right? Life support, and literally breathe new life in, teaching them how to see the world in a different way. And I don't teach them how I do it. I watch to see how they work and, take on board. And then I usually work individually with people who they might work differently from the last person. So rather than resist things, it's flow based, right? So that's where the mind's trying to go anyway. So I'll help remove the obstacles and form a really good structured path where it then builds their self-confidence, self-esteem, makes them feel better, and also balances their mind way more. Because it's a bit like they're having a breakdown, but there's no platform, there's no safety net, right? So they end up, medicated or, in hospitals, or, because their mind's limping along and nobody's come along and gone, oh, by the way, if we just connect that part to that, like a switchboard, to that part of the brain, right? And then do certain exercises and work at it. After all, if they teach, like, say, people on the spectrum and stuff, and ADHD and all the rest of it, if they do certain exercises, it'll exercise, the central, the cortex here, and pump it up like a muscle. But I thought if they could do that, we can rewire it more prominently to the intuition, which originally was how we used to be anyway, by the way. But when we learn to talk, we stop being, learning, psychic signals and stuff like that. That's really what happened. How did you get into it anyway?
Well, my journey began when my mom passed, and she passed at 49, and she passed on my 30th birthday. So I just wanted to find out where she went, even though I was raised Catholic, went to all Catholic schools, everything. But it started with a book. God, she wrote about her near death experience, and how, I think Ellis, I don't know, that rings a bell, but I have it written down somewhere. And it just started from there. I read that book, then then I went to Wayne Dyer, read that. I read the autobiography of a yogi. I read, the different spiritualisms, different modalities, other than what I was structured from. And then from there, I just grew. In high school, because I went to Catholic schools, but in high school, one of the nuns taught us how to meditate, to clear our mind and to relax. And basically, she did it for people with anxiety test taking. And that has stayed with me ever since eighth grade. So, and then it just went from there. And I've been dabbling in it over the years. And, certain things happen and you just go, huh. But I can honestly say once you open up your mind and just start investigating for yourself, then you can't go back to what you were programmed, learned, So,
I know. Yeah.
and I did have an experience where I was meditating and I felt the energy of my mother. And that actually, I have to say, that was the first time that I just let the energy go all the way through my body and I moved out the way. And then I could feel her presence. And then from there, I said, Mom, because you could feel the difference. You could feel it.
That's it.
And so, yeah, and then little things happened to me over time. And I heard a voice that said Enoch, and that's really sent me down. That's where I learned about Metatron and because I was like, because I was asking the names of my guides, really.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then a voice, I was closing my meditation closet and the voice said Enoch. And I was like, Enoch? What is that? Who's Enoch? What does that mean? So when I got to work, I typed it in and that's where it all exploded.
It exploded. Yeah, there you go. You described that energy, when you felt your mum there, and there was a part in you that recognized her energy, and you shifted, and you opened up, and that was God. That's God, and that God energy, he granted access there, to your mum, and your mum, I think, is wonderful. It happened to me once with my daughter, and I can totally relate to that. When I was pregnant, but I didn't know it at the time. Well, obviously your body knows it, but I didn't logically know it. And it must have just been a week or something like that. And I was reading in bed, and suddenly I just felt her pull right the way in, and she was there. And that way, it's probably only a few seconds, but it seems like for ages, doesn't it? When and I was like, and I could smell her, and it just like the feeling, there. And then I got a feeling of dread, because I then realised she'd come to tell me that the baby I was carrying wasn't going to make it. I got that information straight away. And I was like, and she was right as well. And I didn't know I was pregnant at the time. That's when I realised I was. But just identifying with you, that feeling of, it's unmistakable. You're not sitting there thinking about them. I mean, when you were meditating, you probably were just empty mind, just free flowing, just, and bam.
And that's what I'm trying to keep doing. I'm trying to focus myself and move myself out the way without thinking too much, without, just letting it flow. And I do. And I find that when I do, the energy that runs through, it's just amazing. Because I can actually feel, I can only speak for myself, but I can actually feel it, that I start to twitch or, move around. So I don't know what that means. But
No. Well, the vibrational level's higher, right?
Yeah.
So when you connect with spirit, it pulls your resting vibration up with it. And of course, your physical self, because you're not really a body, right? You just appear to be a body because of the frequency or, particles are vibrating at. So it's a bit like being in one of those conveyor belts, isn't it? Where you got 1 foot off and 1 foot on, and it just wheels you. Wheels you. You're up there before you know it. There's always that moment's hesitation in there. And so it's you're raising your vibration, and in that, when you go into a higher frequency, it's healing, right? It heals. The vibration of love, the frequency of love, that's why they say love is healing, right? Is because your vibration comes up. So anything that's vibrating a negative way, or denser, or working into an infection, or doing this work. I never had a cold for 25 years.
Really?
Yeah. I remember one day, right, I had a little, I sneezed a couple of times and a sniffle, and I was like, and I said, I feel a bit I feel a bit odd today. And they said, oh, you're sneezing. You've maybe got a cold coming. I was like, a cold? What's that? I know. And I thought, oh yeah, I did have one once years ago. And anyway, just saying, nah, we're not having that. No, that's it. Probably working with a lot of clients and stuff like that. I was always, my energy was getting, higher and back, higher and back. I was always pushing myself higher and back. By the next day, I never sneezed or coughed again after that. Honestly.
How about that?
Yeah, so I'm just letting you know that there are benefits. This is why I say you heal by healing others, right? When you learn to raise your vibration like you've been doing, there's a feedback loop on that where your vibration raises, not just to connect with spirit, but in that you can manifest, you can heal, you can, do a check yourself. And like I said, what should happen is, apart after the initial clearing, when you start doing spiritual work, where it seems like you have one thing after another, and then that seems to stop. I don't know if you experienced that. And then it's ages. You're not ill very often, are you?
Not very often.
No.
I can feel something coming, but then it doesn't.
That's it. That's it. Yeah. So your other you, your inner energy, that's how it sees it off, by raising its vibration, by, be gone with you, type thing. Right. So it looks like, my God, that woman's superhuman, by the way. She's like running along, and I'm like, a cold, what's that? I don't felt really stupid. Yeah, it's a bit like, it's a mortal thing. That's what it is. It's a human being thing, right?
I do have a question for you.
Yeah.
When people talk about astral travel or vivid dreaming, what exactly do they mean by that?
Astral travel, out of body experiences, you mean, like as in, astral travel to go and see somebody, to talk with them, to see what they're doing. Have you ever done that just for fun? It's good fun.
No, I think I have had a dream where it was so real that when I woke up, I went straight to my phone and wrote it in my notes. But it felt like, I felt the wind. It was okay. I'm going to tell you.
Wow.
So
go for it then. Yeah.
So I was like on a path, and it was a lot of greenery, and it was very windy that day. And I looked down. It was just like a bunny rabbit, but it had large eyes. And then I looked at it, and I said, we have to make it up this hill. We have to try to make it up the hill. But there was like a forest and bushes, before you can get past it. So I ran up the hill, went through it, and I was on this bridge. And when I was on the bridge, it was just so beautiful. It was all rocks, like mountainous. The wind was blowing. You could see the flowers coming out of the mountainside, but it was so windy. And I went to do like this. I'm like, no, I don't want to fall. So then I squat down, and I woke up because I was scared. I scared myself, so I had to go.
Ooh. Oh,
so
God.
I don't know what that means.
Right, so it was all lush grass. Was it really bright and bright colors and everything?
It was a beautiful place. You could see the hills and the mountains this way, and you could see like a stone formation. And the bridge was, I was on the bridge, but it was just so very windy. It was just so windy that I felt like I was just going to blow away. So that's why I squatted back down. That's awesome.
That's interesting. The rabbit eyes, obviously, you remember the eyes, and they look very spiritual. So perhaps your spirit animal, right, is a rabbit. Listen, and we don't laugh, but because we can't all have bears and foxes and lions and tigers and big eagle hawks and that. Sometimes we've got like a rabbit. It might seem, but when you described, I saw the most beautiful rabbit, right, with the eyes.
It was just sitting there, and obviously he understood, or she understood what I was saying.
Yeah.
So,
Were you human? Could you see whether you had a body or not? You were right? Yeah.
Yeah.
And you tried to get. So life can feel like an uphill struggle. Obviously, there's the interpretation of that. But you felt all the wind. It was all very, real for you. So you knew it was you, but you came. You were out of body, as I would call it. Right, out of body, and you were there and traveling. And so even though you knew it was you, when what I know is that when you're in the spirit realm, right, particularly where the children are, right, it's very brightly coloured there. I noticed when I've been a few times, people have asked, what's it like there? It's brightly coloured. The grass is very green. If you see blue, it's very blue. Your brain releases a substance to allow you to do the mystical arts, if you want to call it, you know, to step into the spiritual world. DMT, it's called. Do not ask me the big, long name for it. Because it's like 26 letters or whatever, right? But if your brain can release a larger amount of DMT, I've always thought that was really what I was maybe born with, something where my brain, you know, because I see things quite brightly coloured anyway. Like rose-coloured glasses, like, you know, I see the good in people as well. So I think in dream state as well, yeah, you came out of body, off you went, the DMT helped you do that, off you went into the spiritual realm by the sounds of it, right, with everything brightly coloured and stuff. That's probably where, because it's brightly coloured and bunny rabbits and stuff, I would say you probably were near like children of some sort, right? You know, like small children who have passed over or waiting to come into the physical realm. You possibly could have been, and I'm just saying you perhaps were there before you were in physical form, perhaps as a guardian or, you know, like a watcher, you know, watching over the children and stuff. Do you find that children gravitate towards you?
Yes.
Sorry.
Somewhat, yes.
Yes,
Eventually
like if you're sitting having a coffee or whatever, and then you find that the children are trying to make eye contact with you and smile at you or try and gravitate towards you. Yeah. So you are a guardian of children by the sounds of it. So I'm feeling that you were there in the spiritual realm. You'd astral travelled and gone into the spiritual realm. It sounds like you were called.
I don't know. I was asleep. But I was like in between. It's kind of, I felt like I was like in between here and there. Like I was like right in the middle. Yeah.
In the ether. In the ether, the spiritual realm. Yeah. That's good. It's interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Never happened after that. And that was last year.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was like last year.
Did anything significant happen before you had that experience or afterwards?
No, not that I can like pinpoint right now. I can't.
No. That'd be interesting.
About that.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you for sharing that with me.
Yeah.
Very good.
Some strange things. Sometimes you have to ask, because if you don't ask, you don't know.
Well, that's right. You know, when you described the rabbit's eye, for some reason I thought about that eye was reflective of, like, you know, like, I suppose a planet, the outside of a planet, you know, when you see the sun like an eclipse, except everything was bright. Yeah, everything was bright. But if you've ever looked in rabbits' eyes, they always look like they contain the knowledge of the world, don't they? They might look all fluffy and everything, but those eyes, you could literally get lost in them. I know people that keep rabbits as pets and they run around the living room and that like a dog. You know, like they keep them in the house. Yeah. I
have a relative that used to have a rabbit. Yes.
Did you keep it though in the garden in a wee hut or?
No. Well, to include us, you know, growing up, we had rabbits, but they were in a pen outside. Yeah. And then my cousin, I don't know if she still has the rabbit or not, but she has it in a cage in her bedroom, and he hops around the house and all that stuff. Yeah.
Do you have many children in the family anyway? Do you have your own children?
I have two. I have a son and I have a daughter.
Yeah. How old are they now?
They're grown. My son actually just turned 38. And oof. I know. And
I've got a 35-year-old one, so I'm like, you must have been 12 when you had him. I know.
Yeah, I wish. And TT, she is 22 or 23 right now.
Oh, it's a big gap.
She may be 24
in
August.
Oh, she's right. She's 24 in August, right?
Yeah.
So there's a bit of a gap between them.
Well, yes, she's my stepdaughter, and then my son is my biological child. Yes.
But you're both yours. Yeah, I get that.
They're both.
There we go. Yeah.
And they're both August babies.
Oh, wow.
I have a lot of August people around me.
That's interesting. When's your birthday again?
Mine is the 19th of January.
So you're on the cusp, aren't you, of sort of like Capricorn Aquarius type thing. Yeah. What do you feel you are?
I don't think I'm either sometimes because I do have the earthiness of the Capricorn, but I don't relate really to what all they say, not to me. And then, but I'm not an Aquarius like that either, so I don't know exactly. I'm just
Indecisive.
yeah, exactly.
Well, probably, yeah, probably maybe you are. Like, I suppose talking with you, you're sensible and kind of down to earth. So I get that earthy, part as well. But the air sign, the Aquarius, plus it might be handy to find out what your rising sign is. Do you know what your rising is?
Cancer.
Right. So can say in the emotional, tough on the outside and soft on the inside type bit. Yeah. Do you feel more relaxed when you're next to water? Or like with water from that? Aquarians I've got quite a few of them that are friends actually. And my daughter's a Capricorn. As well. And so I've got to say that, like I said, I know we talked about it now last week because I said, Capricorn women are usually married more than once. Oh, yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. The second time, they get it right more the second time because they do it because they want to that time. You would never get married again if it wasn't for you were sure. You had to be sure. And so Capricorn women can be quite decisive. They can be powerful women in the sense where they work hard, right? When they do things, they like to get them right. I'm not saying they're perfectionists, but they like to, because even if it's a job they hate, they have to do it well. So they do. They might sometimes take their eye off the ball when it comes to work colleagues and stuff, right? And so if somebody's got an ill, feeling towards you, you might not always pick it up because you'll be focusing on your work type thing. So if somebody's got a beef with you, you'll honestly be shocked. You'll be like, what? I totally missed that one. But they all do that. Yeah, they all do that. And they are successful, but I know them better to be more successful when they're in their own business, probably because they get a bit more freedom and they can do, what they want.
What they want.
Yeah, which fundamentally, I'm not saying it's a selfish, I want to do what I want and that's it. I'm saying it's that probably the next stage from having growth from the home environment, keep an eye on children, grandchildren. Because I do, when I don't know if you've got grandchildren, I do feel that there's a connection with children and grandchildren. So I think that you probably, I'm not saying you didn't like being a mum, but I think you like being a grandmother.
Well, yeah, because I had him when I was 23. Yeah, I was 23. So, we're learning life at that age. And he, grew up with me.
Yeah, but I say that to my eldest as well. I say that, what I sent him a quote once saying, I'm sorry I couldn't be the kind of mum that maybe you deserve, because obviously you grew up with me or I grew up with you. I think it was something like that. But then again, you never get that with any other child that you have. You only get that because I was 20. I just turned 20 when I fell 19. Yeah, I was a month off of 19 or whatever. I was 20 when I fell pregnant and had him. And yeah, so it wouldn't have occurred to me to like go out rampaging or drinking or partying and stuff like that. Like a lot of the kids do. It wouldn't have occurred to me. I don't understand how some people can have children and then they think, all right, I'm off out partying now. Here, you bring the kids up, or I just don't get it. But no, I'm a Gen X and you're a Gen X, so we're
me too, yeah, I was never that type. That wasn't gonna happen.
Yeah, because I think probably the era that we were in, the sort of generation that we were in, it's we were serious about things.
Yeah,
like when we were doing things, or even if it was a surprise, like we made the best of it and we were serious about it because we had to.
Yeah. Right.
And we were grateful for any little bit of help that we got. Not that I got much, but grateful. Yeah, I appreciate what that taught me.
Especially in difficult times, like money was short or whatever, but we never complained. We just got up and just did whatever we had to do to get it done.
Yeah.
And that's how Yeah, that's just how it was with our generation. Yeah.
Well, the blessing was in, I mean, I don't know how I would have singing with phones and stuff like that, you know, and
Yeah.
social media and that back then. Just sounds a bit complicated, as in you're trying to bring kids up. I mean, it's a requirement now, don't get me wrong, it's become part of
Yes.
life and everything. But there was certain happiness in the simplicity of things back then.
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
You know, simple's good, keep it simple, keep it real. Some people overcomplicate things,
Yeah.
right?
They
And
sure do.
you
And I was
do.
like, it's not that serious.
No, I know. Yeah, like overthinking it. Like I'm like that sounds exhausting. That's
Yeah.
that's exhausting. You know, when you get all the intricate, and you're like, that it's you know, as black and white as this, and
Mm-hmm.
it's very simple. But life, I think, modern life teaches people to be complicated about things,
Mm-hmm.
right? That there's always got to be a reason for everything. But
Yeah.
what if it just is?
Yeah.
That's just
It
the way
is what
it
it
is.
is. Yep. It is what
Yeah.
it is. And
Never
that's,
really. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. And I think that there's the spiritual side of it and, you know, like developing your intuition and
Mm-hmm.
really connecting, it really helps you understand about yourself, doesn't it? I bet
Mm-hmm.
you understand you in a whole new light now.
I do.
Mm.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
What advice would you give someone who wants to develop their intuition or their spiritual gifts? Mm-hmm.
A good mentor. It is worthwhile committing yourself, you know, to developing. Once you start to do that, you know,
Mm-hmm.
keep going with it because there's gifts that you'll experience along the way,
Mm-hmm.
right, that are so expanding, so nourishing for the soul. And I put it this way, I don't know how I would have been able to get through life without it.
Right. Yeah.
Honestly, I might just be stupid, I don't know, but I honestly, I wonder how people cope without it.
Mm-hmm.
You
Mm-hmm.
know, like teenagers. I wouldn't. I mean, I've got 4 sons and a daughter, right?
Uh-huh.
And honest to goodness, like 3 out of the 4 sons were really hard work in their teens. I would not go back to that, right? You're talking disappearing off the face of the earth, getting up to no good, you name it, right? I had to, if I didn't have my spidey senses, right, honest to God, they didn't get away with anything. I could hunt them down within 30 seconds. It helped develop my skills. I'm really good at finding people that have run away or, you know, like pets that have run
Mm-hmm.
off or whatever. But that's because that fight or flight in me
Yeah.
has been really extremely developed. Honestly, my eldest son has said to me, who's the one that phoned there, by the way, and you know, I had a feeling I was going to message him for it. I was going to say, don't call me between, you know, 5 and 6. And of
Right.
course I thought, nah, it's fine. And of course my instinct really did 5 to 6. Anyway, he'd say, Mum, I don't know how the hell we survived. I says, well, there
Mm-hmm.
you go. See, message to most parents, you think it's complicated, but all it's like they're like plants. All you have to do is keep them alive until they can do it themselves.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
That's right. That's
I've got
right.
some really mean CPR skills, honestly, that developed now. You name it, I've been there, and they've survived. They're all clear of everything that they would be in and stuff like that. It took years, took a lot of grit, but I couldn't imagine. I couldn't have done that without my intuition. I just couldn't.
Mm-hmm.
You could say I got matched up or paired up with kids that were in relation to, you know, my intuition, but honestly,
Yeah.
I don't think I could have done it without that. So it's not just for getting your cards out and reading the cards or
Mm-hmm.
connecting with spirits. It's a transferable skill, like in life, where it helps you make better decisions, where it
Right.
helps you manifest, where it helps you heal. Like I said,
Mm-hmm.
I'm never ill, never ill.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes I might feel a bit, but it's not to do with anything other than I've probably been around, you know, people with energy that's siphoned mine off, or there's
Mm-hmm.
something wrong with them, and I've picked up on it, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, and I've been so lucky to meet so many wonderful people and
Mm-hmm.
been blessed to be part of their life, and so, even just a small way at times,
Mm-hmm.
that I couldn't have got that with anything else, really. I don't think.
Yeah.
I couldn't. I was going to be a nurse, you know.
Really?
Yeah, I wanted to be a midwife back in the
Oh.
day and stuff, and a nurse. And and they really were trying to get me to go from the general nursing, because you had to do general and then midwifery. They wanted me in the psychiatry side, because of my skill set. It became very clear that, you know, because you do a bit of different things, it became very clear that I had an exceptional understanding, and who I am and what I do actually would have been very, very wonderful in that area. And I learned, like, a lot of my training when I initially started, and I think we're always in training, by the way, but was in the mental institution. I would get called by the patients. I think I said last week, I would get called by them to go and read for them in their rooms and cells, and, you know, and they all got discharged, right? They all got, the staff were relieved when they saw me, because I realised with the nursing and that, with all the red tape, the dogma, the paperwork, the policies, that I could do a better job more quickly without all that holding me back.
Yeah. That story was fabulous.
So are you? Yeah. I hope that we connect again sometime soon, and catch up and what have you. Yeah.
Yes, I would love that.
Thank you so much for bearing with me and having me on, and having me on. Well, I don't mean having me on, but having me on the show.
You know what? I am humbly honored, and I'm so happy and honored that you said yes.
Oh God, of course.
I loved you.
Yeah, I love you too. You take care.
All right. Thank you.
All right.
Well, ladies and gents, that's it. Hope you enjoyed. Bye for now.
Bye.
Hold on.